Yes, you can start now.
Okay, sir. Fine. Thank you. Good afternoon to one and all present for today's session. I would like to start this lecture series with a quote: view research as an opportunity to explore and discover new things. Good afternoon to all again. I am Megha Hundekar, a research scholar from Mysore University. And today we are here to listen to a talk from Dr. Abhijit Survase regarding research writing and its insights. So first of all, I would like to welcome Dr. Deshmukh sir, President of Microbiologist Society India, who has been a very strong support in establishing the group, as well as he is the one who is a backbone for helping out to arrange all the sessions, which are very fruitful and helpful for all the research scholars. So I like to welcome Deshmukh sir. Next,
Hello.
I would like to, yes, sir.
Yes.
Next, I would like to welcome Dr. Abhijit Survase. Let me give his short introduction. Dr. Abhijit Survase has completed his PhD from the University of Queensland. He is GATE qualified. He was a former scientist in Novo Gold Seeds Private Limited, and at present he is editor-in-chief at SafeWrite Drafting Service. He has many publications, and he is also well known for training the students in research writing, as well as he has a keen interest in sustainable development and works on plant growth promoting microbes. So today's session is going to be not only a session with the PowerPoint presentation, but he's also going to give us a demo of few points which he'll be covering in the PowerPoint presentation. So I guess all of you can take opportunity and make sure that whatever doubts we have, we can get it clear from Dr. Abhijit Survase. Over to you, Dr. Abhijit.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I just hope I'm loud and clear to everyone.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, yeah. I'll just share my screen now. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'm really grateful to Microbiology Society of India. They provided me this opportunity to present what I have been working upon and how I assist students in research writing. Let me tell you all, I am just a student of your age. Like my guide used to say, a scientist is a researcher. A researcher is a scientist for a lifetime. I made a mistake, I guess. Just a moment. Screen 1. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I just hope my screen is visible to you all now.
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, so I'm editor-in-chief of SafeWrite. I provide research drafting solutions to corporate organizations over here. I used to be a PhD student in University of Queensland, and I was a scientist for about 2 years in agricultural field. But then I saw that there is a greater knowledge gap regarding research writing in India, and then I felt whatever I learned in University of Queensland has to be imbibed over here in students who are pursuing PhD in India. So with this perspective, I started training students. So yeah, this is my forte. I train students how to write research articles. I provided a small form for students to fill up so that I can understand what aspects they fall short of, and I try to provide the presentation with that perspective. Now, let me start my presentation. When I was a student, I had the same questions what the present students have. First thing was the guide used to always say, read. But I used to feel what perspective he's saying that you should read. I had no idea what I have to work upon. Subsequently, when I started reading, I came to know that there are many research papers that I'm just going on reading, and those are not fruitful. So a very important perspective for you students is you should understand what articles you should not read, because by the end of the day, when you keep on reading, you understand that this particular paper was not necessary and I just wasted the time. I feel there are some tricks where you should screen down what papers you can read, what papers you should avoid reading, because those are not actually necessary for your result. There are some tricks how I'm going to screen down which research papers are not that important for you all, how to screen those down, where these research articles has to be searched. I see many students, when they have a particular research topic, they'll just go and Google it. I generally refrain from doing that. Most of them will go on Google Scholar and then try to search a particular query of that research. I refrain from doing that as well. The second most important question is when you should start writing. I'll say you should start writing from your masters, because you have a better perspective of what research is, and that is the place where you are given some liberty to make mistakes. Why does my research feel very novel in the beginning? Yeah, this was one of the questions that a student has raised, that how I can understand that my topic is novel or not. So when you have recently completed your master's and you are into your PhD, you feel like every aspect is novel one. But then as you go on doing the literature research, literature survey, you come to know that, okay, many of them have worked over this perspective. And then you feel what new I am doing. So yeah, there are things you should review about to understand whether your topic is novel or not. Yeah, but that perspective I'm going to tell you at the very end of the presentation. Now, the very first thing is literature review. So when I was talking about writing a draft, there are two aspects. You are writing a review article or a thesis. I mean, a research article or your thesis. In both perspectives, you need to do your literature review first. So when you are planning to write a research review article or your thesis, the very first thing is doing your literature review to understand what perspective, what all other people have worked upon. Even on our group, many people say, I need reference on a particular topic. I need to work on a particular area. Please give me some insight. So these become very vague. These aspects become very vague when you are very new into research. What I suggest them is have reference books and read those first. In reference book, what happens is there are various aspects of a particular topic given in reference books, and then you get an insight into what all people have worked upon. Now, a reference book generally happens to be a research about at least a couple of years old. It takes about a year or so. These days it's become a bit faster, but you can consider that those research are about a couple of years old, and then you understand about 2 years back what all people have published. So you can understand that the most recent publication have a particular area researched upon, and we have to work something novel considering that as a benchmark. So when you say that whether my research is novel or not, you have to read the reference books first. When you'll read a reference book, you will have questions in your mind. Then you will go over to research articles and then try to find out what perspectives are not worked upon. When you are doing your literature review, you should see what database you are working upon. I'll tell you what database I work upon. Just a moment. I had prepared one timeline for you all, a timestamp Word file that I have provided you on your WhatsApp group. If you will have that open simultaneously, you will have a better insight into what I'm speaking to you all. Yeah, so as you all can see over here, the reference, I prefer Science Direct, elsewhere Nature for reference books. If you all need any reference book, I can share it with you all if you personally message me. The database and reliability. Now, my preference for databases is the first one is Nature or elsewhere. It can change at times, depending on whether that particular journal has my expected research paper or not. Then I prefer Wiley, Taylor and Francis, and at the very last, I prefer Google Scholar. Now, I'll tell you why. The reason is that Google Scholar is the very general indexation service. Any journal. Now, suppose I have start up one journal named the Science Magazine, which I am pushing up for ISSN. But that is a very crude journal for now. It's not that stringent. But then publications these days are become what they say. It's become a business for now. And then there is also called as predatory publication. Like people will publish any damn crap and then put it on internet. And for a couple of years or so, they can have Google's Scholar indexation as well. And then a bad publication can also come up in Google Scholar. Second thing is many people, they upload their draft on ResearchGate as well. And then when you perform a search on Google Scholar, that article from ResearchGate would also come up in the Google Scholar search. At times that may not be peer reviewed, and then you can have a standard article that you are actually referring to. So refrain from Google Scholar. Google Scholar I use only for downloading the citations, not for referring the journals. When I'll provide you a demonstration on how I cite, you'll have an insight what I mean by using Google Scholar only for citations. The next thing in the presentation was a quick scan whether the paper is important or not. Now, supposing I'm working on lacase production and I need to see whether I need a protocol for lacase production. What I'll do is I'll go and download a research paper. Now I'll go on the abstract first. I'll see the title first. And from the title, I'll have a brief idea whether this particular article is important for me or not. Now, if the title is relevant, I'll go and read the very last or the second last statement of the abstract. So the first two statements and the last 2 to 3 statements I'll read. From that, I'll come to know what that particular person has worked upon and what results he has got. Now, from that, I'll get a brief idea whether this paper is going to include a particular methodology that I am willing to search for. Okay. So you see, this is the way I later on, when I became a professional writer, I started screening down the research articles likewise. See the abstract, read the first 2 statements, read the last 3 to 4 statements, you will get what the particular person has done, and then check it off. Second thing is, simultaneously, you should see the reliability of the paper, what journal that paper comes from. It is from Elsewhere, Nature, Wiley, Taylor and Francis. These are very stringent and peer-reviewed journals. They are going to critically review articles. And once you publish your paper in that, there is a higher probability that the journal is, that particular reference is not going to have any issues.
And sir,
so, yeah.
Sir, by Wednesday, you will be getting the feedback list.
Okay. So yeah, that is the way I quick scan whether the paper is important or not. What happened generally, how I evolved was, the first year when I was doing professional writing, I used to see the databases and how reliable these papers from those databases are. And from that, I came to a conclusion that papers from Nature, Elsewhere, Wiley, Taylor and Francis, these big hunks, they provide really good research articles. And then later on, I started scanning whether those papers are important or not, because those are generally good papers. Yeah, and then cite while you write. Now, what generally students do is when they are performing a literature review, they have a habit of downloading that research paper and putting it in some folder. I generally refrain from doing that. What I'll do is, I recently had served one of the corporate organization over here, Ajit Seeds. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll go on my Word file, suppose. Yeah, I'll go on the Word file over here. And now suppose I read some of the research article over here, comparison of 3 genomic DNA extraction methods. And now I want to cite this particular citation, what I'll do is I got some good statement from this. I'll just hit the insert citation button. And now you'll just see that citation has come over here. I just hope this is clear to you all. You see Abdul Latif and Usman, this came over here. And not only that, what happens is this, at the end, this bibliography will come over here. Now, what happens when I'm doing a literature survey, I will have the citation as well as I'll write some statement over here. The method for DNA extraction has been so I write this statement and I want to cite some research articles. So supposing I'm grouping a similar DNA extraction methodology over here, I'll just go on I'll read the paper, download the citation and put this citation over there. So this is called cite while you write. Okay. What happens is by the end of the day, if you are downloading the papers and then putting it in your research manuscript, you will just fail to put the citation and then you'll go and search again and again what particular research paper I had read. So this saves about 70% of your time. What happens is if you collect the data likewise, you can later edit it and then screen that down what particular statements are not necessary and then you can change it. But vaguely writing a literature review, it becomes very hectic. Now, one question was how old the references should be. It depends. Like when I was writing one of the research articles, I was working on quality parameters of wheat, the genetic parameters which control the quality of wheat. So in that there was chapati and bread. I was searching for a reference which had mentioned standard method for scoring the chapati and bread. And then I found that in 1986, there was one reference. So I had to put this old reference. But if you're doing a research based on novel findings, it's generally good to have novel references rather than using the old ones. If you are using some fermentation medias or something, you can add those old references because those are standard, those are not variable, those are not going to change with age. Okay, so methodologies, few methodologies are going to change, like analytical methods or preparatory methods. Those will change. So you have to be variable likewise. How many references should be? Now there is a limitation to number of references based on the journal. I don't know. I can't answer you properly because a few journals don't have this limitation, but a few will mention that not more than 70 or not more than 30 references to be added. The reason is that the number of words you increase, the charges for screening the plagiarism also increases, because if you go on the website of Authenticate, you'll see it's about 8,600 something rupees for 25,000 words. And then if you are increasing the number of words, the amount of money for keeping the quality of the journal also increases. So they'll refrain from putting more text. There's also a limitation for amount of text you will have in your reference papers, research papers. Yeah, so the next question was how I should start writing a research article, and how I should read a research article as well. Now you take any research articles, like suppose I had shared one of the research articles on the group. Let me share it. Let me share that screen with you all. Downloads and reviewing a paper. Yeah, so there was one research article, phytochemical analysis and antimicrobial potential of methanolic extract of peppermint. Yeah, so they might have extracted some oil from this plant and then found the antimicrobial property. The present investigation aims to assess the phytochemical content, oxidative activity and antimicrobial activity of methanolic extract of locally available Mentha piperita. So on the very first statement, I understood what this research is going to be. Okay, now I'll read the last statement. The mint leaf methanolic extract showed considerable antibacterial, antifungal activity against selected bacteria and fungi. Regular intake of mint leaves presumed to ward off the initial colonization of selected pathogenic microbes. So this is a global application. So in the last two statements, I came to know what is the application and what the person had found. When you are reading a research article, you'll start from the abstract, the first two statements and the last two statements. Okay. Now from that, you'll go on the conclusion. Does this have a conclusion? No, this has a discussion. So, okay, you'll read up, you'll go over the discussion. Now you see the difference when you are reading a research article. As I said, when you are screening down a research article, you'll read the abstract first, and then you will go down to discussion. And then if you feel good, you'll go on the results section. Where's the result section? Yeah, okay, where the result section. Then you'll read the result, what all you got. Yeah, and then if you feel it, this one is good, you'll go on the methodology. So while reading a research article, you go in the sequence of abstract first and then the conclusion. Then you'll read the results. But when you're writing a research article, I see that many research guides emphasize on writing the introduction first. Please refrain from that, because I personally feel when you are writing the methodology first, you will understand what all results you are going to write. And from the results, you will find what you have to discuss about. From the discussion, you will now from the material method, result and discussion, you will conclude something. Now you know what all your research article has, what methodology, what results, what conclusion. Now you can write the introduction, and from the entire thing, you can write the abstract. So reading and writing a research article has a different sequence. Reading with abstract, conclusion, then result. But while writing, you'll start with the material method first, then the result, then the discussion, then the conclusion, then introduction. You can take a screenshot if you wish. Your research article has to be clear, concise. There's a difference in thesis and a research article. In thesis, generally students try to increase the number of words, but when you're writing a research article, the knowledge density has to be high. Knowledge density in sense, amount of information you get in limited number of words. So try to push in a lot of information in lesser number of words. Try to reduce the number of words. It should be concise. It should be in active voice. Active voice in sense, a particular thing was performed. This methodology was performed, and not in a way that a particular experiment was performed by us, like kind of. So it has to be short and a direct statement. Specific thing was performed, specific results were found. We found these results, kind of. And then while writing a research article, you have to see that what papers you are referring to are also of good standards. Not that some paper has a wrong methodology and you are building up your research conclusion based on a wrong reference. It should not be so. The reading should be critical. Writing should be aimed to avoid critics. Now, what do we mean by reading should be critical? I had shared this draft with you. Now I've removed the name of the author and the journal over here. Yeah, so I've put in some comments over here. Plant material. Now, what is the critics over here? This person had taken Mentha piperita seeds, leaves from local region, and then he had performed drying of that particular leaves and then evaporating it. But he has not provided any reference, because this was a recent reference. But then this is a very general thing, plant material and extraction. So if rather than writing all of this, if we had put one reference that the plant crude extract preparation was done by a specific reference, by a specific method, even that would do. So that is called as knowledge density. Like you're reducing the number of words, but you're presenting the same thing. Then the phytochemical analysis. This is critical review. Now the person had done phytochemical analysis. He said that the extract was prepared as 1 mg per ml of concentration, but then he had not given what yield he had got. Like suppose you are performing the same experiment, and if you need 1 mg per ml of at least 1 mg of your crude extract, then how much of the sample you should actually collect so that you can reproduce this experiment. So you have to be very precise what all details you are writing. Or else it might happen that students from masters are trying to reproduce this experiment, and then they take just 5 grams of leaf sample, and then they don't even yield a required amount of crude extract. So yeah, one care you have to take, that the research has to be reproducible. And then if this research is not reproducible, that comes in critique. Yeah. So that is critical reading. And if you feel that this research is not reproducible, so there are many discrepancies in this research article, then you should refrain from using that reference. Now, when you are criticizing some research article, you should passively understand that the same can be done by some other researcher while referring our research. So try to see that your research article is reproducible. There are lesser number of variables, and try to avoid the critics that you are going to find in others' research papers. Yeah. So what is critical review? I also review research articles in high impact journal. I was reviewer in one of the journals of elsewhere. Critical reading is something that you find a mistake in the experiment and then prove that this one is not reproducible. I'll tell you one of the examples that I experienced. Now, variables, when we say variables, when you're performing some fermentation, temperature, inoculum concentration, elicitors, incubation period, media, PCR conditions, genetic expressions, test strains, the statistics, ethical approval, all these come in critical reading. Okay, so these are critics that these parameters were not reproducible, and then the experiment has a critic, we can say. I'll tell you one of the examples. There was one research article in which the client had produced a leachate. So the client had taken some solid media and then put in some inoculum with a particular relative humidity, and then allowed a leachate to form. So generally this happens is when there is a limiting water content and then you are doing a solid state fermentation, a leachate is produced, and that leachate is generally good for plants. So it's plant growth promoting actually. And then what that scientist had done was use that leachate on seeds, and then had concluded that the leachate is very good for plant growth promotion. But yeah, okay. So now when we are considering this experiment, we should get in your mind what are the variables in this. First thing is the readings has to be replicated. When you are taking a replicate, the standard error or the mean values of those readings are not that high. I mean, standard error should not be that high. The media that you are using in the entire experiment has to be the same, or there has to be no variability in the media, or else that might change the results in the entire course. You had performed similar growth conditions when you are replicating the experiments, and then try to prove that the same end product was produced in all the replicates. So yeah, this is the thing that I'll see when I'm criticizing this research article. So is there anything else we find that has to come in the critic? I feel like when you are producing the leachate and then testing it on the seeds, I had to see what kind of seeds they had tested upon. Now I saw that that particular client had tested it on hybrid variety. So they went in the market and then took hybrid seeds. Hybrid seeds are generally F1 seeds. And then when you grow F1 seeds, you get the F2 generation. F2 generation will always have segregation. Now I come from a plant breeding background, so I know that in hybrid production, the female, supposing I am producing a sorghum, a jowar we call it, that is that's a hybrid. So my female will be about 60 centimeters tall, but my male would be about probably 3 meters tall. It's very tall. So you see the discrepancy. So the female is about 1 meter tall, but the male is about 3 meters tall. And then you cross those and then you get a hybrid, and that hybrid might be similar to the male, but more robust, maybe 3 meters tall and high yielding. But now you take the seeds from that and you sow and you get the F2 generation, but these F2 generations are going to be variable. You know, it's going to be 1:2:1 something phenotypically. Yeah. So they had tested it on F2 seeds, which was variable because it is going to give genotypically these seeds are going to be variable, and then you are putting leachate on it. So the plant expression will be variable. So you see, this is called as critical reading. But on the contrary, if that particular scientist had used a variety is a stable line. All of those express nearly the same. There is no genetic variation across the generations. Yeah, so these are subtle things that you should consider while reading a manuscript critically. Now, how to write a research paper? I have given a brief to you all how a research paper has to be written. The very first thing is you should always use a standard methodology. If you are taking pains in generation of a novel methodology, you have to take care that the variables in that particular methodology should be avoided. Like you should reduce the number of variables in it, and then see that the experiment is replicable across the globe. A particular mistake that most of the scientists do is they mention that a particular a thing was done at room temperature. Room temperatures are different at different places, I guess. I would keep a particular experiment for incubation at my room temperature. My room temperature might be 29, 30, but the same might be different at a different location. So you should be very precise what experimental parameters you had used. Write the results related to methods, and all methods must come in a logical flow. Once you write the methodology, you will go on the results section. Now you prefer a flow chart of methodology, what all you had done. And from that methodology, you write the results, what all results came. Now by this method, everything will come in a logical flow. Okay. And then based on the methods and the results, you will draw some logical conclusion. Now, while drawing a logical conclusion means you get a particular result. Now you're going to see the difference in the results, what others have found. I'll give you an example. Supposing you are performing an experiment for lacase production. Now lacase production, many scientists have done, but then you are doing an experiment to add some elicitor in it so that the amount of lacase produced or the rate of lacase production is increasing. So you will see what are the rates of lacase production, or what amount of yield has been produced by the particular reference. And then you will compare that with our reference. And then you will see the variations, what variation in methodology we had and what variation that particular person had in his result, in his methodology. And that is drawing a logical conclusion that what particular variation must have given a better yield in our experiment. While performing the discussion, you should also self-criticize. If you are not getting the results at par, you should understand that as well, why a particular result didn't come as we expected. And then you'll mention that as well, that we made a mistake in this particular region and might be probably the reason why we failed to get a particular result. But generally not advised. If you have the time to correct that, you can correct that and then put a better method and result in your experiment. But yes, you should also understand where your draft fell short in. And then logical conclusion. Now you see what I have mentioned here is only the methods, results, and the conclusion. I haven't went on the introduction part, because those are the very first important things you should understand when you're writing a research paper. I don't feel like introduction is a very important part, because I never read introduction. Frankly speaking, I'll only read the abstract, I'll only read the results, and then if that is important, I'll refer to the methodology part. When I need some literature, I'll go on review papers, not on the research papers introduction. So introduction part, I'll not emphasize that much. But yeah, if you are keen to understanding how to write a compelling introduction, if it's possible, take a screenshot of this. I generally prefer this structure. While writing an introduction, I'll first mention in the first paragraph what is the problem that needs to be solved. Then I'll see what are the existing solutions for that. Then I'll see which is the best one. And then from this, we understand what has to be worked upon. Okay, so you understand what is the main limitation. Please understand, this is a very important statement. Every research has to be done to fill the knowledge gap. If you are filling some knowledge gap, that means your research is novel. But finding the knowledge gap is very important because that needs a hell lot of literature review. Finding what experiment has not been done or what results are not yet been found. Okay, so you'll do a literature survey likewise, the problem to be solved, any existing solutions, which one is the best. Even in the best one, if you are finding some limitations, then you can show what is the limitation and you can work upon it. And then from that, you will perform an experiment, what you hope to achieve from this experiment. Okay, now this is going to give you a novel research perspective because you know what particular area is not being worked upon. Okay. Yeah, so the last thing to write is abstract. Abstract is something, a trailer of a movie kind of, everyone says. Now, as I said you in the previous reference paper that I had shared, you take any damn abstract and you will see that the abstract has a very stringent structure. The first two statement is going to be why this work has to be done and what I have performed in this experiment. So you see, present work investigation aims to assess the phytochemical content. Now they have not given why this has to be worked upon. I would generally mention why this work has to be done. Then what has been worked upon? The methanolic leaf extract was analyzed for the phytochemical constituents. Okay. First two statement is going to tell you why we have to work. Then the 3 to 4 statement is going to be methodology. Okay. Then the statements are going to be results, what they found. And the last two statements are going to be the conclusion. What is the takeaway from this research and what is the global implication? So the global implication is regular intake of mint leaves is presumed to ward off the initial colonization. This is not that good paper, but then if you are into research writing, this is a very stringent structure that you should follow so that you don't make mistakes. And an abstract is expected that from those typical 250 words itself, you should understand what the work has been done in this research article. So yeah, you could take a screenshot of this one. The first 2 lines should be why the research has to be done. Then 3 to 4 should be what methodology is performed. Next 3 to 4 lines should be what results are found. And then lastly, what is the applicability of this research? Okay. Now, what tools I generally use? I suppose this is the last slide of mine, and then I should show you the practical demonstration of what all I generally do. So the first one we'll go through is EndNote. As I said you all, I have this research library over here. I have this software called as EndNote. This is a reference manager. What I'll do is I'll go on Google Chrome. I'll share this one over here. I'll go over here and I'll go on Google Scholar. Now, I'll search antimicrobial potential of plant extracts. And then, okay, so I need antimicrobial potential of some plant extracts against Candida species. Now, this is from the journal Silo, Brazil. No, I don't want to use this. I generally prefer Wiley or Nature or elsewhere. So this one is from Wiley. You see the IOP Science. I'm sure many of you have not emphasized on looking over here. So see which journal you are taking that reference from. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll open this one in a new tab. Yeah, I'll not recommend you all, but then there is this hack over here. This is called Paper Panda. I'll hit this button and then go and download this paper. And then, yeah, I probably presume I'll get a full-length research article over here. So now those who are seeing this one, just go and search for Paper Panda. It's what is this called? It's an extension, I guess, in Google Chrome. Yeah, so this paper, now I'll read the reference, read the abstract over here, and then see whether this research article is of any use for me. I'll go back to the reference, and now I'll go on tools and export citation, and then go on EndNote, and then download this reference. And now I got the reference over here. Yeah, you see, evaluation of antimicrobial potential of plants from the Ivory Coast. Was this the same? Yeah, this was the same reference. Now what I'll do is I'll go on this Word file over here. Now this would be the best way to show you all. I'll hit this here and then go over here. Yeah, now you should concentrate over here as well. I'll go on writing some text over here. The antimicrobial of plant extracts are studied. Something like that, and then I'll go and hit insert citation, and you see over here. So what happens is the mistakes that we generally do while inserting the citation is reduced, and then creating a bibliography. It's a real mess when you are putting in the citations and then you fail to put that in bibliography. Another benefit of EndNote, I'll tell you all. Most of the times, this citation style is called as APA 7 style. Generally, they mention you that it should be in numbered format. So let us see. I'll go on numbered style. And you see 1 and 2, this 1 and 2. In a single click, I got the citations changed. Now I'll go on. There's something called as Vancouver. I don't know if I have it over here. Yeah, Vancouver style. Now these are square brackets. We'll see what is Vancouver style. These are round brackets. So you just imagine you have prepared a draft of about 20 odd pages, and then the journal has rejected your paper. And then now you are trying for a new journal. And then they mention you that you have to put it in APA 6 style. And you will have 30 to 40 references in that. And then changing all of the references, it becomes a donkey work, frankly speaking. It's better to use a reference manager. In a single click, you can have all these citation styles and also the bibliography. Now, in the numbered style, it becomes a real mess when you have numbered style, because every time you have to go back and see the same citation and then see that the particular citation is numbered properly. This will save about 70% of your time. Okay, anyways, this was about EndNote. Now, it will take a very long time, about a day, to mention how EndNote has to be used. I have just given you a glimpse of how EndNote can be used to reduce the amount of time in citations and inserting and generating your bibliography. Second thing was using, let me go back to the PowerPoint presentation, was using Grammarly. Okay, everyone knows Grammarly. I have premium subscription of this, so I generally have the plagiarism correction issues. I generally don't rely only on this Grammarly aspect itself. There is also something called as artificial intelligence tool. And then there is a journal called as Hindavi who freely provide this one. So if you are keen enough, you can, I've also shared this link with you all in the Word file, Hindavi Writeful.ai. You can upload the manuscript and then it will do the same thing what Grammarly is doing. But this is even better because it will tell you what all aspects you have not put. Like maybe acknowledgement, it will tell you acknowledgement is not given. Maybe the author names, it will tell you author name is not given. Or competing interest, it will tell you competing interests are like are missing, kind of like that. Yeah, Sci-Hub. Now, speaking out, this would be a controversy because many countries have refrained from using Sci-Hub. Now, recently in India, they have banned uploading elsewhere articles on Sci-Hub. So I'm not sure. I won't advise you all, but you all, a scientist, you probably know how students get full-length research articles. Paper Panda, as I mentioned you all, this was an extension which I found on internet. You go on a particular research paper and then probably they are going to tell you whether this particular, let us see if this, yeah, let us see if this paper is available or not. if a paper is available on the right side, yeah, if a particular paper is available on the right side, it will tell you all whether the PDF is available or not. MDPI. Yeah, this one. This is not an open access article. We'll see if this one would be downloaded. Yeah, I don't endorse or advocate these things, but then, yeah, many students use this extension as well. I got the full length article. Then is OAMG. Yeah, it's same thing as Paper Panda. And then SPSS. Now, I'll just tell you all a brief about SPSS because this one, it's a premium software. I had been student of University of Queensland. I probably feel like that is the reason I have full access to these softwares. Yeah, I generally use these for statistical calculation. It will look something like this. I put in the names of variables over here. Probably the best way would be I generally take online workshop of these softwares, and statistics by SPSS is one of the what they say gold standards for statistical calculations. If you are doing it from Excel, it's not considered that good because there are certain errors in statistics through Excel. But then if you're doing it through SPSS, it's a standard method and then it won't come in critical review in your research paper. Yeah, it will take a lot of time to tell you about SPSS. So that was a brief demonstration of my tools, which I generally use. Apart from that, I would mention you all, there is something called as a review feature as well, which I generally take as a training section for the staff. I see that most of the associate professors who are teachers, they feel like we don't need any kind of training. But yeah, there is, we all are very, what do you say? We fall short in electronic understanding, you see. I'll tell you one brief method how we so okay, that would take a lot of time. Now I'll show you a practical demonstration over here. I'll go on review and I'll keep on track changes. And now I stick to, you see that what I did now. If supposing you are an assistant professor and you want your student to correct this draft, they generally take a hard copy and then they'll write it with pencil, but then it takes a lot of time and then the money spent by the student to print all of those 20, 30, 50 pages. But rather, if you stick to this method, you go on the review feature, turn the track change on. Now this is something called as all markup. I'll go on no markup and then you will see how you have edited. I stick to better research journals, better research publication, always like. And now you see you have written something, but you don't see what changes you have done. But when you'll go over here and then see all markup, you will see what changes you have done. You see how much time that will save of the student and yours as well. Generally what teachers do it, they'll write some comment over here on the left. But what you can do is you can go and put in new comment. Please make necessary changes. What happens is students will read this comment on the computer itself. They don't need to print it. And then they can have an idea. What we generally do is we write these changes where we need, but our client should make changes at a particular place. And then they will address this particular comment and then make changes likewise. You see how much amount of time is saved by this one.
Sir, I have a question.
Ma'am, my presentation will just finish off. Can you please tell it in the
Yeah.
comment section?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll address every question. Don't worry. Yeah, so that was about the review feature. Now, the review feature itself will take about a day or so to teach you all. There is something called accept all. Yeah, and now regarding the PowerPoint presentation, I generally use the PowerPoint presentation to make any graphical abstracts. There's something new called as graphical representation of your results. There are many online tools, but then this is a kind of old school technique. You can make any pathways or flow charts or anything on this one, and then paste in it in a graphical format. Yeah, so I feel I'll fall short of time. I needed about 10 minutes to address all of the questions. I just feel I have covered up most of the parts. The last thing was I was requested by Miss Megha to tell how to find the research journals. It's very easy. All of the research publication houses have their own journal finding portals. What I'll do is I'll go on Google and elsewhere journal finder, and I'll hit enter, find journals. Now this one is of Science Direct or elsewhere. You go do the same thing for Nature, Springer Nature journal finder, and then hit on the Springer journal suggester. Now both have the same algorithm. You will create some title, you will paste the title over here, you will create the abstract and paste the abstract over here. Now let us consider one already published research article. Let's see. Put in the title, and now we'll put in the abstract. Okay, and then find the journals. Now the publication type has open access. That means you have to pay. Journal with subscriptions, those are free for you all, but others have to pay to read your research articles. And now they are going to tell you details of all of the journals. Very important parameter from your perspective is what is the time to publish. So 2 weeks is like time to first decision is like they'll take 6 weeks, 7 6 or 42 days to mention if your article is worth publishing or not. And then the second parameter you have to say is this one, $2,960. Yeah, so you can stick to either journal with subscriptions. Yeah, so you can just tweak places over there and then find which journal is free for you all. Now I have kept journal with subscription and no journal with gold open access. That means this will have a provision of publishing freely, but then your article won't be available as full length for other researchers. Okay, so yeah, time to first decision, you can screen down your research your journal of choice from this one. The same thing you have to do for other journals as well. Now you'll have the same for Wiley, Taylor and Francis, Oxford, many other publication houses. That was it. I would be addressing the questions now, if you all have any.
The session is open for question and answers.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Actually, the Word document, what you're showing us while presenting, is it a normal Word document or is it related to any other software? This one, yeah. Because we can.
I don't know how to remove this one from here. Yeah. So see, this one is Office 365. I have full length access of Office 365. Not full length access, but I have a subscription of my university to have Office 365, and then this looks up as like it might probably look a bit different from you all. I generally try many. Yeah, So this is
Because
Office
we-
365.
Yeah, we don't find all these options in our Word document. So I got a doubt whether this is something else or the same Word document what we have.
Yeah, so yeah, I do understand. There are several tools that I actually try every time. Now, since I work professionally, I have to test every new software that comes up. I have tested Quillbot, I tested Rightful AI. There are many other artificial intelligence tools. When I install EndNote, I have this add-in tool over here where so when I installed this software, I had this site while you write add-in, which came up in my Word. I installed Grammarly for Word, and then I got this tool as an add-in in this. I generally have to provide PDF files. So I found that Adobe Acrobat creates the best PDF with all of the links embedded. So yeah, these are some I need professionally every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir, regarding the books, like
Yes.
for our review of literature for the PhD,
Okay.
when we have to review the books, can we just simply
Yeah.
sit in the library and go through the books? Then we may not find the books of our concerned topic now.
Generally, what we do, I provide a research training to students. It's a workshop actually. That is a 4 days workshop, and then I provide them with the library access of mine. And most of the research articles which are in elsewhere, Springer use, we get full length access to those. So yeah, so the reference books that you feel are not available, we provide access to those.
Okay.
Yeah, in our training sessions, in our
Okay.
workshops.
Okay. So can we find in any other digital library also? Can we suggest students to?
You might probably not find
yeah.
the full book, but then generally students search those particular chapters on Sci-Hub. They'll go on a particular chapter of a book and then search that particular chapter in Sci-Hub. Not advised, but it's like everyone does it.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll take up the questions from the students then. I want a detailed information about publication. That will take a lot of time. Publication process is about writing, peer reviewing it, finding the mistakes in your research article, and then submitting it to a particular journal. I said you how to find a journal of your relevance. How to choose journal. Yeah, I've shown you. Has any journal, every journal different format of paper. Every journal has a parameter called as instructions to author. You have to read those instructions to author and then change it likewise. Even in elsewhere itself, there are more than 13,000 journals. Every journal would have a different way of presenting your article. You have to see those. Specifically, the format, the citation style, and then change it likewise and then present it to the journal. What is important, review article or a paper? You should be referring to a research article over here. So both things are important. If you are doing your PhD, I don't feel like a review article gives you any credit. But then, yeah, it will add to your academic credibility. If you are an assistant professor, this publication also has a few marks to you. Both are important. I don't feel like a research article is a better one, because unless you review and find what knowledge gap are there in the research, you can't do a research. So yeah, review is necessary to find research gap, and then you work over that research gap and you present a research paper. What kind of reference is required? I have mentioned that in the presentation. Minimum number of references, that will depend upon the journal that you are targeting. Generally 30 to 70 references, depends. Though there are many tools for accessing research papers, suggest a site that can help you download all relevant papers. So if I also provide some workshop. I charge for those workshops. If you are going through our workshop, we provide you all access to full-length research articles, discussion, writing, and how much data is required, in what terms novelty is considered in an article in microbiology. So as I said, when you are taking up a research, you feel everything is novel, but when you do a literature review, you'll find a lot of work has been done on a particular aspect. Like if I give example of my research, I was working on chapati making, and I felt that chapati is like every Asian country eats. But then when I went on literature review, I found that there is no standard method of chapati and bread scoring in India. There is in America, which is published as a AACC standard method, but there is nothing about chapati making. And then that was a research gap. Then I found that there are many variable parameters in grading chapati and bread. That is a research gap. So these research gaps are actually novelty areas where you can work upon and reduce those knowledge gaps. Unless and until you do a literature review, you are not going to find those. Why some journals have particular way of writing a bibliography? Yeah, I don't know the reason, but I can guess what the reason is. Generally, when you are increasing the number of words, these journals have to scan your research article for plagiarism, and then that might increase the number of words, and then that becomes a burden to the journals. I feel like probably that is the reason why they ask the citation in numbered format. I don't know why, but maybe the amount of space that is required in numbered format may be less, probably. How to start writing? Yeah, but you keep this in mind. If you are using a reference manager, these things don't even matter, because in just 2 clicks, you can change the type of citation. How to start writing a research paper? Yeah, I have covered that point in the presentation. How to write an impactful abstract? Yes, if you have taken a screenshot, then you might be probably knowing this, how to write an abstract. I don't understand paper most of the time. I hope you got this one from this session now. If you, what I used to face the same thing. I used to read a paper and then never used to understand whether this paper is important for me or not. Right? Read the abstract. First have the question in your mind, what you have to work upon. And then once you know what you need to search, then you can screen down what paper you should reject. Time is the most important parameter when you are a scientist, because I feel really bored when I read something. I feel really bored when I write something. I take a break after every 10 minutes. And then you just consider, I have a profession of writing. I write anytime research article. I get very bored. I get bored very frequently. Take a break. Be clear in your mind what you have to search upon. And then screen down what you don't have to read, because you'll read the irrelevant research and then you'll get bored, and then by end of the day you have done nothing. This happens most of the time. There used to be days when I used to write 3 words, and the next morning I used to come and delete those 3 words because those were irrelevant. It happens. You'll face the same thing. How to choose journal for publication? Yeah, I showed you. Just Google search on journal finders. Yeah. So this was for Nature. This was for elsewhere. Go on a particular journal and then hit on journal finder. What will I do to write a research writing? What will I do first to write research writing? I said you, literature review is the first thing. See what aspect has not been worked upon. Take up that as a research gap. Try to reduce that research gap. That is a novel finding. Present it as a paper. I do know some of the technical terms like citation, methodology, objective, etc. But I do have doubt regarding how can we be sure no one has ever gone through the topic of research. Yeah, when you'll do a thorough literature survey, you'll come to know how many people have worked upon a particular topic. How to publish paper on high impact journal. Now, this is a controversial term. How to publish a paper on a high impact journal? Most of the journals, they have their own terms to publish their journals. Some of them need novel research findings. Like if you go in Nature, they always publish only cutting edge technologies, kind of very novel findings. Like you see, last time when I read about a paper, that was they used a male cell to produce oocyte, like a female cell from a male cell. Last time when I read about a colleague of mine, they had reduced the amount of maturation time of a wheat plant from 3 months to just 1 month. So that was a speed breeding protocol. So things that are actually not implicable, we feel these are not possible. People tend to take up the same projects. and they are very impactful. Such research findings are taken up in high impact journals. How to write a paper? Yeah, this is something you'll need about 4 to 5 days of training for this. This covers many perspectives. Yeah, but I have briefed you about writing a paper, how you should write. Can we publish research paper in master stage? I'll tell you all, when I was doing PhD in Brisbane, I felt like an achiever at that time. But then when I went into intricacies, I came to know students over there were actually employees from research fields. They had some research issues which they took up in their PhD. And then I came to know that why PhD is actually in existence. PhD is something that is to increase the knowledge in industrial aspect. Research has to be something that is industrially applicable. Many of the time what happens is researches are just academic. If you are doing your masters and you are taking up some commercial project, like suppose a production of a particular enzyme that is industrially applicable, you'll do some crude findings, but then you'll have a better insight into what needs to be actually done during the PhD stage. So yeah, you can do a publication in the master stage as well. Get in collaboration with a PhD student. He'll let you know what work he is doing. Get into insight into how a literature review has to be done, how to write. Get as a second author or the third author in his paper by helping him. Yeah, you can get published in your journal. My question is, how can we indulge more in research and its publication when pursuing our bachelor's? I feel research needs a particular standard of knowledge that I don't feel like you'll be having during your bachelor's. A quantum of knowledge for a logical reasoning comes in the master stage. I feel so. Maybe I'm probably wrong. But then wait until you get idea of theoretical aspects and then get into research. How can we write research article for publishing? Also writing review article. How should we search, organize and write a paper? Yeah, tough to answer. It will need a lot of time to make you understand. Probably today you had a brief understanding about this. Searching of informative and reliable research articles, writing research articles and publication, management of work during PhD. Yeah, this was the most liked question of mine actually. Management of PhD, there's something called as Gantt chart, organizing your work plan based on amount of experiments you have to done. I don't know which person has messaged me, but you can WhatsApp me. I'll tell you in brief, because it was not possible to get this aspect in today's presentation. I would like to know about drafting a research proposal in an effective manner. Yeah, so I said I am RAD. That is the format paper that I have given you. Yeah, probably not over here. But there is something called as I am RAD. I'll write it over here. I am. So this is the format how you write a paper. I is for introduction, M is for material method, R is for result, and D is for discussion. There's something called as conclusion as well. This is the format. So just by heart this one, I am RAD. And then there are some smaller aspects as well, abstract and conclusion. This is the flow, how you have to write a research project. I feel like I have covered most of the part in this session. Writing a research and a review article is a big task to be taught. I tried to brief about what I personally do while writing a research article, what tools I use and how I reduce the strain by some tools like EndNote and grammar checker as well. After this, there is something called as plagiarism as well. There are certain tools to check plagiarism. Your university might also be providing you that as a paid service. Yeah. If you have any other query, you can contact me back. My phone number I'll be providing over here. take a screenshot. Yeah, that is it from me. Megha ma'am, can you just take over the charge? Yeah, so
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Yes,
just
sir.
yeah, which one is the best, Mendeley or EndNote? I don't use Mendeley because while writing, I found that Mendeley made mistakes while writing the bibliography. EndNote was the best. EndNote is paid one, but it is the best. Like you put in a citation once and then you don't have to look back. Workshop for PhD students. You can message me back. I'll let you know. Do we have to pay for publication service? Yeah, journals will actually ask you for money. Which graphs are acceptable in reputed journal? Anything from Excel is also acceptable. Not a problem. Only that in a graph you have to show standard error or yeah, standard error generally. Yeah, that is it. Yeah, ma'am. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir. So I guess many of the doubts are cleared by your presentation, and it was really very helpful for all the budding research. So yes, session here. We such a session making clear about the facts, how to use the research tools, and how to be clarified about the thoughts. So I would like to thank Dr. Abhijit Survase, as well as I would also like to thank all the. Thank you, Abhijit. Thank you, all the members. We can end the session.